Okay, today we're going to look at SOH CAH TOA a little different way. We're going to use it to find missing sides. There's two ways that you use SOH CAH TOA. You use it to find sides and you use it to find angles. So we'll split those into 2 days. We'll find sides today and we'll find angles tomorrow. Okay. Now yesterday we just looked at the basic setup and what SOH CAH TOA means. And real quickly, everybody remember what SOH means? Sine equals opposite over hypotenuse. CAH, C-A-H, cosine equals adjacent over hypotenuse, and TOA, T-O-A, tangent equals opposite over adjacent. Now, some of your problems yesterday, you had to look at a triangle that you were given information on, like here on number 1. There's 3 pieces of information there, and fit it to one of these 3 trig functions. So how did we do that? It's like we stood ourselves on top of our 50-degree angle, and we said, where are these things? Where is that x? Well, from that 50-degree angle, that x is all the way across the other side, so that's an opposite. Of course, can only be one hypotenuse, and it can only be in one spot, and that's opposite to 90, so the 9 is the hypotenuse. So we're dealing here with an opposite and a hypotenuse. That is a sine, so we would say, okay, the sine of our angle theta is going to be our opposite side over the hypotenuse, and just fill in what you have. Okay, we know we have a 50-degree angle, so sine of 50 degrees, our opposite is x, and our hypotenuse is 9. Now to solve this, just slap this sine of 50 over top of 1 and cross multiply. Now when I cross multiply, I always look for the variable, and I always do that one first. And I say, okay, x times 1, that gives me x equals. Then I go the other direction, 9 times the sine of 50 degrees. Now you can just type that all into your calculator and see what you come up with. And we'll round everything to 1 decimal. So when I type that into my calculator, I get 6.9. Okay. Now if you happen to get negative 2.36, you typed it in exactly the same, but you're at negative 2.36. Then your calculator is in radian mode. So remember, since this is 50 degrees, we need to be in degree mode. So if you didn't get 6.9, but you got negative 2.36, then make that change on your calculator, change the degree and do it again, and I'll bet you get 6.9. And another thing to keep an eye on is we knew our hypotenuse here was 9, so that means every other side has to be less than that because the hypotenuse has to be the biggest side, and our 6.9 that we got down here is less than 9. Okay, so number 2. So we just look at our information and we say, what do we have? Maybe the first thing you want to ask yourself is, you just go through and label things. You know, opposite of 90 is the hypotenuse. Here's our 20 degrees. So way over there, that would be the opposite. Right next to it is adjacent. Okay, and what do you have? Well, we have an opposite and we have an adjacent. That's TOA. It's the one that uses opposite and adjacent. So then what does that tell us? It tells us that the tangent of 20 degrees will be equal to x over 18. Okay, now you can pause the video here and solve this one on your own and come back and check your work. Okay, I would slap that tangent of 20 over 1, and again I would do whichever cross has the variable in it first, and I get x equals, and then go the other direction and write that as 18 times the tangent of 20 degrees. Don't write that backwards. If you write tangent of 20 degrees times 18, you're likely to multiply those two together, and you do not want to do that. You want to multiply 18 times the tangent of 20. And you can punch that in your calculator. Now, if you've got calculators like mine, remember the parentheses, you'd have to be careful of those and want to close those off. So 18 times the tangent of 20, I got 6.6. Okay. Now our last 2 examples today, what they have in common, if we take a quick look at both of them here, look at where the variable is on both. The variable's on the hypotenuse, okay? So 2 things here. When we get an answer for our side, when we get an answer for that hypotenuse, it will have to be the largest side that we see. So in this number 3, I got a 19 already. So when I do this one, I better get an answer bigger than 19. And on number 4, I've already got a 3, so I better get an answer bigger than 3 because my variable is sitting on the hypotenuse. Okay, So let's look, where are we? Let's stand on this 15. Again, first off, we've already identified that the x is the hypotenuse. Where's the 19? It's adjacent, so it's an A and an H. That's CAH. That's cosine of 15 degrees equals 19 over x. Okay, now watch my cross multiplication here. I'm going to do what I did before, put that over 1. Again, I'm going to do the cross that has the variable in it first, and that's going to give me x times the cosine of 15. The other direction gives me 19. And then since I'm multiplying by the cosine of 15, I just divide by a cosine of 15 on both sides. And there's what I need to punch in my calculator. 19 divided by the cosine of 15 degrees. Also keeping in mind I need to get an answer here bigger than 19. And when we do this, we do get an answer bigger than 19. We get 19.7. So paying attention that that's the hypotenuse and you should get an answer bigger than 19 kind of helps you check your work as you go. Number 4, what do we have? Well, we already know we have an x sitting on our hypotenuse. But where is that 3? Well, it's opposite of our 62 degree angle. So we're dealing with opposite and hypotenuse. That is sine. Sine equals opposite over hypotenuse. So we would have the sine of 62 degrees equals our opposite side 3 over the hypotenuse x. Okay. Slap that sine of 62 over 1. Go ahead and cross multiply. You do it first, and I'll wait a second here and you can check your work. Hit pause. Okay, I do my cross that has the variable in it first, and I get x times the sine of 62 equals 3. Since I'm multiplying by the sine of 62, I come to the other side and I divide by the sine of 62, and that's what I need to punch in my calculator. 3 divided by the sine of 62. And we should get an answer bigger than 3. What did I get? I got 3.4, which is bigger than 3. So that's SOH CAH TOA to find sides of a triangle. Tomorrow we'll look at finding the angles, using SOH CAH TOA to find the angles. Okay, hope everybody's okay. Everything's good on my end. See you soon.